in which it excludes or discriminates or disadvantages young people, how they feel about it, where it helps, where it hurts, what people want from assessments, and what they want to see. The planned future phases look at then using what you might think of as an online focus group, which will be real-time engagement. Again, this not only with students, but also with parents, with families, and with educators. Again, the topic that may be focused on will be again related to assessment, but we're really going to leave it up to the young people who are participating to help identify what they want to talk about in conversation with policymakers. So the topics may change, they may expand and they may grow depending on what people want to do. And again, we really want this to be co-designed and co-created with young people as we endeavor to create channels for engagement. We're then anticipating potentially doing what you might think of as a prize back challenge. In other words, asking people to come up with solutions to some of the problems that are identified, not just to talk about the problems. Again, this will use software called Your Priorities. That's open source software designed to help people develop solutions together, not just to identify problems. And we may again develop new things that we decide to do together with young people. But in this first phase, what we're really keen for is the engagement of young people to help in co-designing the project so that we're not doing it by ourselves. Let's go on to the next slide, Ani. So you can see right here just a little sense. I won't go over all of this. I won't read this all to you, but the sense is to the idea is to do it very quickly. Really trying to demonstrate, I think importantly, that these are things that can be done easily and therefore that there's no reason not to do them. The reason for the speed is very much because we're in the midst of a crisis around education and online learning in particular, that's posing significant challenges for our education system. We have a new administration coming in that's looking for new ideas and new thinking. But again, we really want to demonstrate how this can be done easily, and therefore there's no reason not to be asking students, families, and educators rather than trying to make policy behind closed doors. Finally, I think just a few more details which you've all seen online about this next phase and who's eligible to participate. I'll just leave that up there for a second, but what we're really keen on is your questions. Again, you should please put them in the Q&A as Olivia has already done, and you can add them there. I would recommend is the best place to put the questions is the Q&A, because this is really about answering questions that you have so that we can help you to help us get out the word. And one of the things we've done in order to help with getting out the word is to create what you might call a media kit, essentially just a number of different resources, whether it's, I think that's on the next slide, Ani, I believe, whether that's a sample tweet, or whether it's a newsletter posting, or whether it's additional content that you need. Tell us what would help you, something for Facebook, a banner that we think will be useful. That's on the next slide. This is just more on kind of why to participate. And then on the next slide, we talk about sort of some of the, oh, sorry, I guess I'm not sure if we have the media kit slide there. Is that coming up? My apologies. We may have an error on the slide here. In any case, on the website, and we'll put a link in the chat, there is, we'll just put it in the chat, is the place to find that quote unquote media kit with just additional resources like sample tweets, a short description of the project. But if you tell us you need 2 lines or 20 lines, we're happy to help you get out the word. With that, I think anything else, Victoria, Harrison, or Ani, that you want to add? And I'm going to go over to questions and see what people want to ask. You're on mute, Victoria. Anything else you want to chime in?
No. I think so. In terms of just a quick thing, in terms of the communication toolkit that we prepare, you will find a set, as Beth said, a set of tweets and the videos But you please should feel free to adapt that if you want to help us with this outreach to the audience, and also include the general email for questions that we constantly check, and we will be able to have to help the people if they have any further doubt. So let's use the time for Q&A. And you have the link. We put just the link that goes to the communication toolkit in the chat.
So first to Yasha's question, yes, we can absolutely share the recording and the deck for this if that's useful. We are also having another one of these sessions. So if you knew somebody who should have been here and might have been interested, then we are having another one of these sessions coming up later this week. At the end of the day, since we thought that maybe some people wanted to do it after school rather than during school hours. Let's go over though to the questions that you have. Olivia, I believe you just need to unmute. We've promoted you to be able to speak, so why don't you tell us your question?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Perfect. I was wondering if reInvent Ed is looking to focus more on K through 12 education, or if you're also looking to focus on college and universities and the policies that they currently have for pre-service teachers that are going into the education field, or if it's a combination of both.
So for this first phase, the idea is that the youth council that will run the project will be people up to the age of 21. We like people who are 22, 23 and older. It's really just a matter of having to set the bar somewhere for efficiency purposes. For the next phase, we will be engaging with folks who are up to age of 25. So it will include people who are in and out of school. To your question about the focus in terms of topics, we're going to be very open to what people want to do. The initial topic that we've been asked to focus on by our project funders is really to look at issues of equity around assessment. So that's involving things like 21st century skills, which will affect people both K through 12 and in college. With regard to employment readiness, with regard to complex problem solving, with regard to some of these things that are called 21st century skills. So it definitely applies to college as much as K through 12, absolutely. Let me know if that's responsive to the question or if there's anything else we can answer there. There's an anonymous attendee, so I'm assuming you don't want to be promoted to talk. I'll read the question here. Are you looking for applicants for the student council from both public and private school? Yes, you can be from either public or private school, absolutely. So we are looking for as much diversity as we can find in terms of participation, which is why we ask people a lot of information about you. It's really just so we can ensure that the student council looks more like America and is reflective of our diverse population, and that will include people from public and private school. We will likely, again, create two groups, one for the younger group of 14 to 18, and then for the group from 18 to 21, so that we're meeting in two groups occasionally and sometimes as a joined up group, but we hope that will also be more rewarding from a social perspective to group people in similar age cohorts. But yes, you can be from either public or private school. Any other questions that people have? Again, you can type in the Q&A, you can put it in the chat, you can raise your hand using the participant button and then clicking on raise hand, I believe. Does that work, Ani?
It's best to put your question in the Q&A.
In the Q&A, my apologies. In the webinar format, that raise hand button isn't here. The main thing, if you're here from an organization, whether you have Twitter or a newsletter or a listserv, we're just hoping that you can help us to get out the word. Again, I don't know by heart who's here. We've reached out to a lot of people also who are doing things like youth activism in the environmental movement, who are working on climate change activism, not necessarily on education per se. We've reached out to people who are also involved in student debating societies, Model Congress, kids who are doing things that have a sort of civic bent. But we're really happy if you can help forward this to other people. You don't have to have specific training in education policy. If you go to school, you're already an expert in your own education. We believe and we want to make sure that students have as much agency as possible in really talking about and thinking about these issues. There will be a lot of mentoring and help from not just leaders from the governance lab and the people that we're working with as part of our team, who include people like the former deputy mayor of New York City, Rich Bury, education professor Jonathan Collins from Brown University, head of Telos Learning, Rafi Santo, so a number of different experts who are part of our team, but also experts, policymakers and others who have eagerly said they are keen to listen to what people are telling us. They're keen to hear your voices, and they're also keen to help out with mentoring. So the former commissioner of education for the state of New Jersey is going to be helping us with mentoring for folks, just to take one example. And there'll be lots of wonderful interaction with senior leaders in education who are just very excited about the opportunity to hear from kids, but also from communities, from educators, and from parents. Great, I'm going to give it another minute to see what other questions people have. And if you, Anna, I don't know if we should just, if it's easy enough to screen share and show those materials that are online, if that would be helpful. And if not, then we can go ahead and bring things to a close in a moment. Again, we're here to answer the questions that you have and help you to help us get out the word, since we really need to depend on you to share things and to get things out to people in other states. Would be wonderful. And again, if you have better ideas for tweets, if you have better ideas for TikTok videos, if you have better ideas for how we can describe things, we have no monopoly on all the right answers. When we've done projects like this in the past, more often than not, it's people like you who've told us better ways of getting out the word, better ways of getting out the message. And again, topics that we should be focusing on, decision makers that we should be talking to. I'm also going to make sure that we put contact info in the chat. If you want to reach out to us with further questions, Harrison, maybe you could put your email in there, or the project email, and we can invite people who want to follow up and who might have questions that they don't want to ask here. We can feel free to answer those by email. So I'm just looking at the chat. There's some things coming in. So the either of the addresses that you see will be fine. You can use either of those to reach out to us. And again, Jerry, if there's somebody that you want us to pass this to, by all means, we will send, if you send the link, we'd be grateful if you forward it to anybody who should have it, or you just tell us and we will go ahead and get the word out to people and make sure that they pass it along. All right. Any final comments or questions? Well, then I'll thank you, everybody. So we've got, Jerry, we noted the email address. Harrison's got that. We've got that, and we will forward an email to her and make sure she has the invitation to apply.
There's a question in the Q&A, Beth.
Oh, a question in the Q&A before we end here. Can we talk about any issue? Are we going to discuss issues as a big group or as a small group? Great question. So let me take the second one first here. So the first group is going to be a small group of about 15, give or take. That will be a small group helping to decide exactly what issues we're going to talk about in conversation with policymakers and foundation funders. So it's going to be really about running the project and deciding what are the topics we want to talk about with other people. There are also going to be conversations that we're going to have, and yes, you will get to set the topic and the agenda that we're going to have as small groups, again, with mentors and advisors. But then what we're doing is organizing some large scale engagements. So the All Your Ideas engagement, we've done this in the past. The last time we did it, we had 6,000 participants. So we're really looking to design engagements that will work for a large number of people. The next stage of engagement is something we're going to be doing actually in a tool that allows us to have between 250 and 500 people online. But then we're also going to do some small group discussions where we can go deeper and have more meaningful conversations. So part of this is about learning how to use new technology to engage with both small groups and big groups, and to really go deeper on the discussions in, again, the small groups. So that's, I hope that that answers the question. Again, in terms of issues, we'll start with the topic we've been asked to talk about, which is to really focus on this issue of assessment and equity and kind of how schools are measuring non-academic skills like work preparedness, 21st century skills, and how that's working for you, how that's working in your school, how you feel about assessment, whether it's something you like, dislike, how it's working during COVID, whether it's your schools are able to do this from a distance. But then we'll be able to get into tackling other issues that I think are going to be very near and dear to people's heart and what people are really centrally concerned about now in the age of COVID. Okay, well, reminder, just those emails are Connie at YourEducationYourVoice.org. That's another one of our collaborators. Connie at YourEducationYourVoice.org or Harrison at thegovlab.org. So if there's anything we didn't answer for you today, please, by all means, email us. And again, if there's anybody who you think should hear this or should have been here or needs to know more about this, the next session is... Harrison, remind us, when are we talking again or doing this again?
The next session is Thursday at 5:15, I believe.
5:15 Eastern. Okay. And again, you don't have to come to that. If you came to this, it's just, again, another Q&A session. But for anybody who missed it, and again, if you're either from an organization or even if you're just you and have a Twitter account or a Facebook feed, or a LinkedIn or anything else, please, by all means, share this with your friends and your friends' friends, and we really welcome your participation. And thank you. All right, thanks everybody for coming. Thank you.